Big Egypt, Chicago, Illinois. Part 2. Hello again, my good beautiful people. Glad to see you all back. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm hoping that everyone here is in good spirit and wide awake, because we have plenty of ground to cover to prove that Chicago, Illinois is undeniably Big Egypt, which means that we most definitely have our work cut out for us. In the first portion of this video, we left our discussion at a little town on the southern tip of Illinois, 373 miles from Chicago City, by the name of Cairo, Illinois, and we said that we were going to search for the answer as to why it is called Little Egypt. So there's no better time than the present to start our mission. Just to let you know, while you were away, I took the liberty to do a little research, and there was nothing spectacular about this town that I could find that would make us say Eureka. So that's why it's called Little Egypt. There were no pyramids or any temples anywhere to be found, or much of anything else worthwhile for that matter. Only empty fields, green pastures, and vacant houses. So why would someone name a place like this Little Egypt? With nothing much to go on, I did a little more digging, and what I found is that it got its nickname from being centered in the middle of the Mississippi River and the Ohio River. And at the tip of this town, those two rivers combine into what is known as a confluence to become one body of water, hence the Mississippi River. Due to its location, this town is also subjected to periodic flooding from these two rivers, which is said to resemble what takes place in Egypt when the Nile River floods the land. So as it seems, there was never anything extraordinary about Cairo, Illinois, that is reminiscent of Cairo, Egypt, other than its location at the confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, and its ability to become flooded as a result of the rising of these two rivers. So sorry folks, nothing much to write home about. No pyramids, no temples. That's it. Just two rivers joining as one, and a town that's nearly empty due to hatred and a small matter of differences. Not so fast. There are other towns in this region of southern Illinois that are called Little Egypt. One in particular, Carbondale, Illinois. This small city, which is about an hour drive from Cairo, Illinois, according to the 2022 census report, holds a population of close to 22,000 people. Although a bit more action than its neighboring Cairo, there's nothing here that would necessarily imply that it has a direct link or somehow resembles the Egypt of Africa. But there is something quite relevant about this area, which we will most definitely be discussing in the near future. But for now, if you recall, back in April of 2024, a historical solar eclipse took place. What made it so historical is that, ironically, it crossed paths with the path of the previous solar eclipse of April 2017. And guess what? Carbondale was the X marks the spot location where these two solar eclipses actually crossed. Now, if you consider things similar to the way I do, then you understand that there is no such thing as a coincidence. That is to say, that all happenings are governed by a universal law, which gives them significance. Whether or not we fully understand the deeper meaning behind a specific event is pretty much based on our level of psychological and/or spiritual development. In the case of these two mentioned solar eclipses crossing paths, it was an astronomical sign which marked the beginning of the inevitable awakening of the misguided and displaced original people of this land. The name Little Egypt was designated as a point of focus, so that we would begin to correctly connect the dots which would lead us to the greater truth of our lost heritage that we are now regaining, which is evidenced by the fact that we are even here in the first place having this discussion. And since we are already present in southern Illinois, it's only right for us to brief ourselves with the two remaining towns in Little Egypt which bear Egyptian names. And those two towns are Thebes, Illinois and Karnak, Illinois. Starting with the small town of Thebes, which was named after an ancient city in Egypt, Africa, is a distance of about 45 miles from Carbondale and a little under 25 miles from Cairo. Owing to its proximity to the Mississippi River, the town frequently experiences flooding during periods of high water levels. According to the 2020 census report, its population has a total of only about 208 people. It is also recognized as the place where Abraham Lincoln studied law, as well as the place where Dred Scott was held as a prisoner in its local jailhouse, while his case was being reviewed by the Supreme Court. Just like the other previously mentioned towns of Carbondale and Cairo, there's nothing here either that could be found that resembles the Egypt of Africa. So with that being said, we move right along to the small town of Karnak, Illinois. This town, which according to the 2010 census report, has a population of close to 500 people, is named after an ancient temple in the city of Thebes, Egypt. It is approximately 41 miles from Thebes, Illinois and 36.5 miles from Cairo. It is well known for its U.S. Post Office, which has been in operation since 1905, and it is located 45 miles from the Ohio River. Besides these few identifiable things, there's nothing extra about this place that would necessarily remind anyone of Egypt, Africa, other than the fact that it is named after an ancient Egyptian temple. Looks like we're almost done here with these few small towns in the southernmost point of Illinois that are together called Little Egypt, which I know you're glad about that. But before we go, let's make a quick U-turn back to the area of Cairo, Illinois. Our reasons for doing this is so we can touch bases with a couple of small towns that are only a few miles away from that location. The first one being Mound City, Illinois. This miniature town, which is only 10 minutes from Cairo, has, according to the 2010 census report, a small population of close to 600 people. It is also positioned directly along the Ohio River, which causes it to flood when the river rises. Now lastly, the city of Mounds, Illinois. This small town is only 5 miles from Mound City, Illinois and 12 miles from Cairo. According to the 2020 census report, it holds a population of a little over 650 people. We won't be going into specific details about these two towns at this present moment, but it was important for us to reference them now so they would be handy in the near future to prove our case in point. So we're finally done with the southernmost points in southern Illinois. But we're not completely done with Little Egypt just yet, for we are now about to take a 165-mile commute to the upper part of this region to another town by the name of Collinsville, Illinois. According to the 2020 census report, this small city has a population of 24,366 people. It is located approximately 14 miles east of the great city of St. Louis, Missouri. Collinsville is praised as being the horseradish capital of the world, and it is also well known for having the world's largest ketchup bottle water tower. But we're not here for tomato ketchup or head-rushing horseradish. Amongst other extremely important reasons, we're also here because of what has been deliberately and deceitfully mislabeled as the largest pre-Columbian mound in the Americas and the largest pyramid north of Mexico. I'm speaking of none other than the famous Monk's Mound. Monk's Mound is located in an archaeological site which has been named Cahokia. According to measurements taken in 1988, it stands at approximately 100 feet high with a length of 955 feet and is 775 feet wide. In addition to this particular mound pyramid, there are reportedly up to 120 other mounds conveniently located within a 6-mile radius. Wow, now that's a lot of mounds covering a lot of land. Interestingly enough though, the vast majority of us were never taught anything about these phenomenal structures which were built by our ancient ancestors of this land. They were never mentioned in school or in the halls of our preferred religious institutions. But it's perfectly fine. We understand why it was so important to keep us in the dark about their existence for so many years. But as it is stated in the Book of Light, better known as the An-Nur, the despised one said, "Allow me to delay their consciousness until the day they are raised up." Well, we have finally awakened from our 500-year deep slumber. And although many of us are still asleep, no one has the power to stop the divine law of inevitability. No matter how hard they try to prolong it, Mother Nature always wins the tug of war. If this were not the case, we would not be here at this particular moment in time. With that being said, now that we are finally done with the part of Illinois that is called Little Egypt, it's most definitely time for us to make our way toward the real and first big Egypt, the great city of Chicago, Illinois. So be sure to tune in to the third portion of this video series, because in it we will be bringing that which has been kept in the dark to the light. And last but not least, if you truly enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Until we meet again, it's been spectacular.